everyone, welcome back to our channel. You're listening to Dr. Nazma and in this video, I'm going to explain you one of the most important model question for CBSE class 10 exams. Well, this question in fact is a suggestion from one of my students, and if you also want me to solve your questions which are actually very challenging, you can let me know those questions through WhatsApp group or with the help of the comment sections below. Done. Let us start reading this question before we could solve it or tackle it. Samples of 4 metals A, B, C and D have been taken and added to the following solutions one by one. So they were 4 metals A, B, C, D, and we are adding them first to iron sulfate, and another sample of metal A added to copper sulfate, zinc sulfate and silver nitrate, and we are looking out for observations. So now we first have to observe what's happening, if reaction is happening, displacement is happening or not, the color changes and all of that, and we have to answer these 3 parts of the questions. Okay, so before we could jump into these 3 parts of the questions, let me tell you something. To be able to solve this kind of questions, you should be very proficient in reactivity series. And this reactivity series is very important because it is related to first 3 chapters of our syllabus, right? So I'm sure you all have learned reactivity series, but then in case there is somebody who is finding it difficult to memorize it or something, there you go with mnemonic, which will help you remember series easily. So well, I'll also tell you how to decode it. This is the actual reactivity series: potassium, sodium, calcium, and goes on till gold. Also follows to silver and all of that. Sorry, platinum and palladium and all of that. Well, in order to remember this, learn this statement. First, read the statement. It's absolutely senseless statement which says, "Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead, try learning how copper saves gold." Yeah. But then how is this related to our reactivity series? You already see these highlighted, the different colored fonts, right? P recalls about potassium, followed by S for sodium, Ca for calcium, M for magnesium, and goes on. The first letter in every word that you see here has to remind you of the metal or the non-metal or whatever present in the series. Yeah. But then one more thing, like a note that I want to add here, is you get to see carbon. Carbon here it's non-metal. Doubtlessly carbon is non-metal, but we still have carbon, the non-metal, in this series just for us to compare the reactivity, as in the metals whichever are present above carbon are most reactive. The metals which are present below carbon but above hydrogen are moderately reactive, and below hydrogen are least reactive. This is only for the sake of that bridging, nothing more. Done? Now we're going to solve this question based on the same reactivity series. Please learn the reactivity series before you watch the solution. Done? Now, you first have to identify which is the most reactive metal. Then you have to observe what happens if you add B to copper sulfate solution and all of that. Guys, before that, let us understand how to analyze the data given in the table. So you're adding A to iron sulfate. There is no reaction, which in turn means that I'm trying to compare reactivity of A and iron, because A is not displacing iron. It means that A is less reactive. Now, A is displacing copper from copper sulfate. That means A is more reactive than copper, right? So this way you have to see the data whichever is being given and compare the reactivity. Now in the same way, if you talk about B should have been more reactive than iron, isn't it? B is more reactive than iron. That's why you are observing this displacement. What about C and D? C and D are actually less reactive than iron. That's why they are not able to cause displacement. So now if I ask you, out of A, B, C and D, which is most reactive? Of course the answer has to be B. Isn't it? Why? Because B is the only hero that is able to displace iron from iron sulfate, and A, C and D are not able to displace, which in turn means that B is most reactive. So answer for the first part, which is most reactive metal, it has to be B. B has to be more reactive. I hope you have understood it. And now moving on with the second part of the question. What would you observe if B is added to a solution of copper to sulfate? So they are talking about B. And as discussed, B is something which is more reactive than iron. And now they are talking about B being added to copper, right? Fine. So you need to identify the relation between B and the element copper. But how will you identify? For that to be noted, first you try to observe the relation between copper and iron. You tell me, according to reactivity series, which is more reactive, iron or copper? Obviously iron is more reactive. right? So iron stands somewhere at the top and copper is somewhere below after hydrogen. And now you are having B, which is more reactive than iron. That means B's position is somewhere above iron, right? And now you are being asked a question which says that if you are adding this B to a solution of copper sulfate, which is almost least reactive it is, right? What would be the observation? Do you think will displacement happen? Of course displacement will happen, but observe the question once more. They asked you your observation. Whenever observation is asked, you shouldn't write the products. You should talk about either color change happens or whatever. But then unfortunately, we do not know what B is, so you can't say color changes to what. You can say that the blue color changes. We don't know to what does it change to, right? Because of displacement. As B is more reactive, will be displacing copper, and as a result of which the blue colored solution of copper sulfate will fade off, right? Now moving on to third part of the question. I hope you guys are able to follow what am I explaining. In case you have any doubts or something, you can also let me know through comment section. Done? Arrange the metals A, B, C, D in the order of decreasing reactivity. Of course, since you're talking about decreasing reactivity, B is the most reactive, so the first one to be placed should be B. Then what about A, C and D? They are all less reactive than iron. Then how do we arrange them? Yeah, we have information with copper, zinc and silver nitrate also, right? So now let's talk about A. A is able to displace copper, right? But then you observe C and D. They can't even displace copper from copper sulfate. First of all, observing the position of copper, copper is somewhere at the bottom and you're talking about C and D, two such elements which can't even displace copper. That means this C and D should have been less reactive than copper, isn't it? And if you come back to the table and observe, copper is being displaced by A. So the second position should go to A. It has to be BA. Then what about C and D? You observe zinc sulfate and silver nitrate. If you see that carefully, you have a displacement happening with metal C and silver nitrate. Metal C is able to displace silver, yeah, which in turn means that C is more reactive than silver. Okay, where is this silver? Silver is here. C is somehow more reactive than silver. Then what about D? D doesn't have a reaction with either any of the four solutions that you have. So obviously you should go with C and D. So B is the most reactive because it is displacing one of the reactive metal. A is second most reactive because it is displacing copper. And C is third most reactive because at least it is showing some displacement with silver. But D is not showing any displacement, the least reactive. Since they asked decreasing order, I'm writing B, A, C, D. So whenever you have to tackle this kind of questions, you have to have this reactivity series accurately written with you. Done? So if you're making mistake in reactivity series, that's it, it's gone. Right? Okay? Fine. So if you have understood it, then that's great. But then in case you are having any doubts or any questions to be asked about this particular question, you can let me know in the comment section. And moreover, you have any challenging question which you feel should be solved with the help of a video and which you feel that is going to help other students also, don't hesitate to let me know. Done? I'll see you all in my next video. Until then, bye bye everyone. Keep learning. Bye.